Of course she wants to keep it. Our little martyr finally found something she won't hand over to her perfect brother. My aunt sing-sang loud enough for every plastic chair and paper plate to hear. You ever feel a laugh slice through you like a cold knife? The kind that turns your spine into glass while your smile stays politely glued on? That was me, standing under string lights that trembled in the evening breeze, holding a small box that suddenly weighed more than every birthday I had ever swallowed. Hi everyone, my name is Ainsley Monroe. And tonight at my family reunion, love came with a price tag and my name on the receipt. It was all noise and sweetness a minute earlier. Cousins scraping frosting off cupcakes, the grill hissing, my mother's bracelets clinking like wind chimes as she moved from table to table, performing hostess and judge. My brother, Cole, lounged at the center like a warm-blooded sun, and every orbit bent in his direction. That's always been the choreography. I do the steps, he gets the applause. The box was wrapped in plain craft paper, tied with blue ribbon. Not expensive, just careful. A private gift for my grandmother. A promise I'd been saving. But when Mom spotted it, her smile turned managerial. Ainsley, give it to your brother, she said, gentle like a threat wrapped in velvet. He's had a hard year. Cole smirked, the kind of smirk that believes in miracles where other people's boundaries are supposed to be. Don't make it weird. Hand it over. My heartbeat stuttered. Somewhere a kid squealed, a soda fizzed, fireflies blinked in Morse code I wished I understood. I could feel everyone measuring me, generosity if I obeyed, selfishness if I didn't. Funny how respect only ever means submission when you're the daughter. I'm not giving him this, I said steady low. It's not his. Chairs scraped. Conversations stalled mid-laugh. Dad's mouth thinned into a line that always meant a verdict. Mom's eyes went glassy. Public tears, the kind that belong to the audience more than the person who sheds them. You've embarrassed us, Dad said. At our own reunion. You don't know respect, Mom whispered, palms pressed together like a prayer she'd weaponized. All your life we have given and given. We. I almost said. But I swallowed it because truth at my house always tastes like disloyalty. Cole lifted his chin. Come on, sis. Be useful for once. And then the gavel fell, Dad's voice iron and final. If you can't honor your family, leave. Don't come back until you learn some respect. The night exhaled. Someone gasped. The box trembled in my hands. I stepped back, ribbon cutting a soft line into my fingers, and the porch light haloed my parents in a glow that did not reach me. Respect, I thought, is just what they call it when you give up what's yours. The door clicked behind me like a lock finding its home. Out on the driveway, cicadas sang their one-note hymn. The box thudded against my heartbeat and I realized the gift wasn't for Cole anymore. It was for me, a boundary wrapped in paper tied in blue finally opening. The gravel crunched beneath my sneakers as I walked away, each step sounding louder than the laughter that returned behind me. Isn't it strange how quickly a family reunion can become a public exile? One moment you're part of the fold, the next you're a headline whispered over potato salad. Ainsley walked out. I clutched the box tight against my chest as if the ribbon itself could keep me from unraveling. Streetlights hummed above me, throwing pale circles onto the empty road. My shadow stretched long and lonely, a perfect portrait of what I'd just become in their eyes, the outcast. A whisper crawled up my spine. Don't come back until you learn some respect. Respect. The word dripped like acid, searing holes through every memory I'd tried to keep tender. Birthdays where Cole blew out my candles. Graduations where my name was applauded with one hand while his future was toasted with champagne. Every sacrifice I made was stitched into their idea of respect. And every refusal branded as betrayal. But this time felt different. Maybe because I didn't cave. Maybe because the night air tasted like freedom instead of punishment. Maybe because for the first time I didn't cry. By the time I reached my car, my hands had steadied. I slid inside, placed the box gently on the passenger seat and stared at my reflection in the dark windshield. My eyes looked older than 26. Colder. I thought about Grandma, the one person whose voice never cut me down. The gift was hers, meant to honor her years of stitching love into quilts and soup pots, not to inflate Cole's ego. I started the engine, but before driving I whispered, "This is still yours, Grandma." And somehow the steering wheel didn't feel so heavy in my grip. Days turned into weeks, and silence became my parents' favorite language. No calls, no texts, except one. From Cole. Funny, his message read. Without you around, Mom and Dad finally see how hard it is to keep up with everything. They're losing it. Can't even get me to listen half the time. Guess they miss their little scapegoat. I stared at the screen, a bitter laugh escaping me. The golden boy had turned into quicksand, dragging them under without even trying. For the first time, I didn't feel like the family's failure. I felt like the mirror they couldn't bear to look into. And I knew then, my absence wasn't just silence. It was a storm beginning to bruise their skies. Would they survive it? Or would they finally learn what respect really cost? The text from Cole echoed in my head as I sat at my kitchen table, the hum of the fridge filling the silence my parents had left behind. I scrolled back up to reread it, not because I doubted the words, but because I couldn't quite believe him saying them. My brother, the eternal prince of our family, was admitting, without realizing it, that the crown was choking him. I leaned back in my chair, tracing the ribbon from Grandma's gift. I still hadn't given it to her. It sat unopened on my shelf, a reminder of the night everything shifted. I planned to bring it to her soon, but part of me liked keeping it there, as proof that I had chosen myself. Cole's words replayed, "They're losing it." I pictured Dad's face, stone hard but now cracking under the weight of his golden child's defiance. Mom's glassy eyes still trying to cry on command, but with no one left to absorb the guilt. And Cole, restless, spoiled, finally without the buffer of me taking the blame. Respect. That word kept circling like a hawk. They had demanded it from me my whole life, but now I wondered, who was giving it to them? Without me, they were discovering the truth. They'd never raised a son who respected them. They'd raised one who only knew how to take. Late one night, curiosity won. I drove past my parents' house. Porch light flickering, weeds sneaking up through the driveway cracks, curtains drawn tight. But the sound carried. Cole's voice, raised, sharp, cutting through the walls that once contained only my silence. Mom's sobs followed like a tired chorus. Dad's tone, pleading. I froze in the driver's seat, heart pounding, a twisted satisfaction blooming in my chest. This was what they wanted. They had chosen him over me over and over, convinced that feeding his hunger would keep him close. But hunger doesn't fade, it grows. And now it was devouring them. I rolled down the window, letting the humid night air brush against my skin. A single thought pulsed steady as my heartbeat. They threw me out to protect him. And now they need me more than they'll ever admit. The ribbon box waited for me at home. A symbol. A promise. And maybe, just maybe, the key to the revenge I hadn't planned but was already unfolding. Because sometimes justice doesn't come from what you do. It comes from what you refuse to give. The calls started 3 weeks later. Not from Mom, not from Dad, but from numbers I didn't recognize. Local area code, always in the evening. The first time I let it ring. The second I silenced it. By the fifth I answered, and Cole's voice tumbled out, frantic, stripped of its smug varnish. Ainsley, hey, you have to talk to them. They don't listen to me. I can't. He cut himself off, and for a second I heard the chaos behind him. Mom crying, Dad shouting, doors slamming. A house that had once been the stage for my humiliation now sounded like a battlefield. I didn't say a word. Just breathed into the receiver until Cole snapped. Fine. Be stubborn. But when this whole place falls apart, it'll be on you too. And then he hung up. Me. The irony almost made me laugh. For years, everything had been on me. Keeping peace, keeping quiet, keeping my place. And now, stripped of their scapegoat, they were collapsing under the very sun they crowned king. At night, I lay awake replaying the porch light memory. The way Dad's voice sliced through me, the way Mom's tears turned the crowd against me. My chest still tightened, but beneath the pain, something else glowed. A strange, fierce calm. One Saturday I drove to Grandma's. She opened the door, frail but sharp-eyed, her hands cool as they closed over mine. I heard, she whispered, pulling me into the small house that smelled of cinnamon and lavender soap. They always were blind. I gave her the box at last. She unwrapped it slowly, ribbon falling like a soft sigh. Inside was a framed photo of us from years ago, taken at her garden, sunlight catching the roses behind us. Her hands trembled as she held it. They don't deserve you, she said. Those 4 words anchored me. For once, someone in the family saw me, not as second best, not as stubborn, but as mine. That night I got another call. Mom this time. Her voice cracked like porcelain dropped on tile. Ainsley, please. Your brother, he's out of control. He took Dad's card, drained the account, and he won't come home. I held the phone against my ear, staring at my ceiling where shadows moved like restless ghosts. She wanted me back. Not out of love. Out of desperation. And for the first time I realized I had something more powerful than respect. I had absence. And absence was unraveling them stitch by stitch. I didn't rush to answer her. I let the silence stretch, let her desperation echo against it. For once I wasn't the daughter scrambling to fix things. I was the one holding the pause, the power. Did you hear me? Mom finally broke, voice shrill with panic. He emptied the account. Your father's retirement is gone. He won't listen, he laughs when we beg him to stop. We don't know what to do. A bitter taste filled my mouth, metallic like blood. I wasn't bleeding. This was the woman who once told me that respect meant obedience. Now she was calling obedience what Cole refused to give. I heard you, I said evenly, my voice low, steady, almost foreign to my own ears. And you told me not to come back until I learned respect. The silence that followed was so heavy I could hear her breathing, shallow, ragged, like the line itself was strangling her. Ainsley, she whispered, my name sounding less like an accusation and more like a prayer. Please. I hung up. Not out of cruelty but clarity. They hadn't called me to heal, they'd called me to rescue. And I was done being their crutch. Days passed. Then came Dad's call. His voice wasn't angry now, it was broken. Your mother, she hasn't been sleeping. She says she sees you in the doorway every night like you're about to walk back in. He's tearing us apart. You have to, his voice cracked. You're the only one he ever respected. Respect. The word again, but this time hollow, stripped bare of its false glory. I looked around my apartment. Small, quiet, safe. No voices shouting through walls. No footsteps demanding my silence. Just me and the gift Grandma had set on her shelf like a sacred promise. That night I drove again past their house. No porch light this time. Just darkness. And in that darkness I saw them. Two parents who had gambled away their daughter for a son who now devoured them whole. Cole's car wasn't in the driveway. He was gone, free with their money, their loyalty, their endless second chances. And they were left with the silence I had carried for years. I didn't knock. Didn't call. I just watched. Because sometimes the sharpest revenge isn't in what you do, it's in what you don't. As I turned the key in my ignition, one thought burned in my chest. They kicked me out to keep their kingdom intact. And now the castle walls were crumbling, brick by brick, scream by scream. The first time I saw Cole again was by accident. I'd gone to the grocery store late, the kind of errand where you pray for quiet aisles and no small talk. But as I turned into the checkout line, there he was, unshaven, hollow-eyed, clutching a six-pack and arguing with the cashier about his declined card. He saw me before I could turn away. His smirk was gone. What replaced it was a sneer, brittle and desperate. Look who it is. Little Miss Morality. I kept my face unreadable though my stomach twisted. He stepped closer, the stench of beer clinging to his hoodie. You think you're better than me, don't you? Sitting up there on your high horse while Mom and Dad. He laughed, sharp and broken. They're begging for you. You should see them. Pathetic. The cashier cleared her throat, uncomfortable. I dropped my groceries onto the counter, refusing to flinch. Pay for what you can, I said flatly, and leave the rest. His eyes narrowed. For the first time in our lives he realized I wasn't playing the role. I wasn't the sister who caved, the daughter who filled the silence, the scapegoat who held the family together while he tore it apart. He left without another word. Driving home I replayed the scene, my pulse steady instead of spiraling. I thought of Mom's voice, thin as glass on the phone. Dad's cracked like stone underwater. And now Cole, exposed in fluorescent lights. Weak, erratic, stripped of his shine. They had built their empire around him and now that empire was rotting from the inside. That night Grandma called. I heard what happened, she said softly. Honey, you don't owe them your rescue. Sometimes the greatest mercy is letting people feel the weight of their choices. I pressed my forehead against the cool windowpane, the city lights blinking like distant stars. He was right. This wasn't abandonment. It was truth revealing itself. For years they told me I lacked respect. But maybe respect isn't silence or sacrifice or obedience. Maybe it's walking away and never looking back. 2 weeks passed before the next call came. This time it was Dad again, his voice rough like gravel dragged across concrete. Ainsley, he pawned Mom's jewelry. The heirlooms. Your grandmother's ring. His breath caught. We tried to stop him, but he doesn't hear us. He only takes. I closed my eyes, the ache sharp but not surprising. Cole had always been a taker. They just hadn't noticed until now, because it was always my things, my peace, my boundaries he stole. You told me not to come back, I reminded, my voice calm, steady. And I listened. He didn't argue. He just sighed, long and hollow, the sound of a man drowning in his own decisions. We were wrong, he whispered. About everything. I hung up gently, no anger, no triumph. Just clarity. Later, I sat with Grandma in her garden, the air thick with the scent of roses. She poured tea into chipped porcelain cups and studied me with eyes that had seen decades of choices and consequences. They finally see him, she said simply. They do, I admitted. And they finally see you too, she added, tilting her head. Maybe she was right. Maybe the silence I'd carried, the boundaries I'd drawn, had finally forced them to face the truth. That their golden son was fool's gold, and the daughter they dismissed was the one who had learned how to survive without them. As the sun dipped low, I realized something. Revenge wasn't fire or fury or shouting from rooftops. Revenge was peace. Revenge was being whole while they unraveled. And soon I would give them one last gift, just not the kind they expected. The last gift came on a quiet Sunday morning. Grandma and I drove together, her hands folded in her lap, the framed photo resting between us. We pulled up to my parents' house, once polished, now tired, the lawn untrimmed, blinds half closed like eyes ashamed to look at the world. When Dad opened the door, he looked smaller, shoulders bent as though years had pressed down all at once. Mom lingered behind him, her face pale, eyes swollen. For a moment no one spoke. The silence was thicker than all the accusations ever hurled at me. I stepped forward and held out the photo. Grandma's smile beamed from behind the glass, roses blooming eternal in the background. This, I said softly, was always meant for her. But I want you to see it now. They stared at it and I saw the realization land. The weight of every moment they dismissed me, every time they demanded sacrifice, every time they worshipped Cole's hunger. You wanted respect, I continued. But respect isn't obedience. It isn't silence. It isn't handing over what belongs to me. Respect is earned, not forced. And you never earned mine. Mom's lips trembled, but no words came. Dad swallowed as though the truth itself burned going down. I placed the photo gently on the entryway table. I'm not here to fix what he's done. I'm not here to save you. That was never my role, though you tried to make it mine. I'm here to tell you one thing. I learned respect. Not for you, but for myself. Their house smelled of exhaustion, of mistakes too heavy to sweep away. I turned to leave, Grandma steady at my side. On the porch the air felt lighter. My chest too. For the first time in years I wasn't the burden, the scapegoat, the shadow. I was free. And as I walked away I knew the story was finished. Quiet, poetic, and just.